Hello and welcome to episode 19 of BM by BM. We have a special guest star.
This young lady is Catherine Maxey, so it's BM by BMs tonight.
Wow.
That's
like awkward.
Band.
Sorry?
It sounds kind of like a music band.
It is like a music band. We're rock stars.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So episode 19 tonight is our first animated film, and this one is WALL-E. Catherine, would you like to do the honors of giving us just a really basic overview of the plot of this film?
So WALL-E is basically a story about a robot who meets another robot and then follows the other robot to the place where humans have escaped because the earth is very polluted. And then the robots hold hands at the end, and that's basically the climax.
Yeah.
Done.
Oh, also they save humanity, but holding hands.
Yes.
Most important part.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So in this story, humans have left Earth 700 years ago, not because of a catastrophic event, no asteroid, no atomic bomb, which is, of course, not a natural event, no catastrophe of that nature. The catastrophe is that the world is overrun with trash.
Mm.
It is piled high and deep, and the entire atmosphere is chock full of space trash as well.
Mm-hmm.
And all of this, by the way, all of what humanity wants is provided to it by one corporation, by and large, BML. So we'll talk about who is our chief suspect for becoming BNL later in this show. We won't name names, but we'll hint who we think is the front runner for becoming Earth's BNL. So this series is, of course, about stories that warn us about what could possibly happen.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, the warning is watch it, humanity, or you might have to go live on a spaceship for 700 years and forget how to walk.
And all of your food is in liquid form in a cup.
Mm-hmm.
Drink
Which,
all
I mean, we did have soup for dinner, but it wasn't the same.
I don't think that's the
I
same.
don't think you can really have soup in a cup.
Like a smoothie. Yeah.
Ugh.
And who wants a nutritious smoothie? Other than for breakfast or a fruit smoothie, but a dinner smoothie? No.
A savory smoothie does not sound delicious.
Cool.
No.
I'm going to pass on that.
Sorry about that.
All right. So first take, Mrs. Bailey.
Yes. So this was actually my first time to ever see WALL-E. So we watched it Sunday night, about 2 nights ago. And I thought it was really sweet. I did not mind that there wasn't a lot of dialogue. The main story is WALL-E and Eve, who are robots. So they don't necessarily have as much language as humans do. Right. But what I liked, I really wonder who programmed WALL-E and who programmed him to have knowledge of getting spare parts and having a backup motherboard or backup eyes and tire tracks to go over his little tire feet. And also never thought I would be on a cockroach's side.
Nice.
That was the most precious cockroach I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it was very resilient. It got run over a couple times.
Yes.
Just
yeah.
It up.
Yeah, it did. So I find it very interesting that WALL-E's job is to basically be a trash compactor of materials that humans have left behind. However, he also finds treasures, which reminded me of Ariel and her treasure cove of different artifacts. So I thought that was interesting. And I also liked how when Eve sees all of his artifacts, she's able to turn on a light bulb. And I just found it really interesting how he was programmed, and he was solar powered, and he had to recharge with the sun.
I love the sound. Like,
yes.
Does it like, it's hilarious. Like,
you know what the sound is?
It's the Apple sound.
Yeah, that's the sound at the startup of Apple. So there's a little hidden message in there, like Apple made this machine.
And there's also a reference to Hal from 2001: A Space Odyssey, with one of the robots that learns how to wave. Yeah. So back to whoever programmed Wally. Like, who programmed him to have manners, to introduce himself, to attempt to tell people his name? Like, it's just, I wonder who that person was. So,
or is Wally evolving?
Yeah, personally, my impression was they programmed him to maybe say his name or something, but then he learned manners from like watching the movie that he found.
True.
So a similar note question for me is, how did Wally survive when all the other Wallys did not? Maybe there's actually a glitch in his programming that allows him to preserve, if you're changing out parts on yourself, that he is probably extending his own life. So maybe it was actually a glitch in his programming that allowed him to survive. What are your first thoughts on the movie?
Well, my thoughts, I don't usually think of like Wall-E as like a separate movie. I usually think of it as part of like Pixar, and I haven't really watched it. I don't watch it as much as other ones, but it's still really sweet. And it's kind of like Pixar's version of like an actual love story. Like usually it just has love elements, but it's like actually a love story, but it also has sci-fi stuff in it too.
All right, well, take us there. Let's go to the analysis phase. Tell us about the love story.
So my perspective was like, Wall-E is kind of like a nice guy, like the trope, except I don't think he's like a fake. He's not faking it.
Right.
And he's like generally a nice, like actually nice, and that's why he gets the girl in the end. He's actually nice and not faking it, and he might be a little stalkery, but it's still sweet in a way.
He risks himself a lot.
Yeah,
he does.
He risks himself for her. He risks himself for the people too,
but mostly for Eve.
So would you say when he risks himself for the people, it's really to help Eve?
Yeah, I would say that really he's just trying to impress Eve. That's why he keeps like going after the plant and like saving humans, because that's what Eve is doing.
Right. He's trying to help Eve with her directive.
Because I guess he figures that when she's done with the directive, then he can be with her.
Nice.
Yeah.
Also, shout out to the scrubbing bubbles robot. Is his name Mo? And it's, what is it short for?
Microbe Obliterator.
Microbe Obliterator.
Or incontaminant.
That was one of my favorite parts, and I think a lot of people identified with him, especially now from COVID, how we're trying to clean everything all the time, always. So I really liked that guy. He was my favorite. And then we also watched a short film afterwards with Bernie, who is the robot who tries to fix a light on the outside of the spacecraft. Yeah. And then he keeps having to fix it, and it was really funny. So
very nice. So, all right, let's dig in a little deeper. So I want to start with the humans on board this
Axiom.
The Axiom. We have to talk about the name of the space.
Yes, please.
Though. So put a pin in that. We'll come back to it. So these humans have been on this. Well, not these humans. Humans have been on this spacecraft for 700 years. So long that it appears they have literally forgotten how to walk. So a question I have is, when they set sail, when they left, so there was a picture of Grandma on the floating bed chair thingy.
Mm-hmm.
But they left with enough of those for everyone on the ship. They always had enough for everyone to float around. That's a question for me. And yes, the president / CEO of the world said that you will probably have suffered some bone loss density after 5 years. After 5 years. So it's interesting to me that their entire, and they all, their chairs drive them out around the pool, but the lady and the guy both say, I didn't know we had a pool.
Because the screen's right in front of their face, and that's
right.
what they're looking at.
Right. So to me, there's this warning of, I don't know if you know any people that have a screen right in front of their face a good portion of the day. I don't.
What are we doing right now?
Right. So that, that's kind of, like, well, I didn't know I had a family, that kind of.
Right. And, yes. So the two human people because I feel like the only real people with dialogue are the captain of the ship and then a guy named John, which of course is voiced by John Ratzenberger, and a woman who is voiced by Kathy Najimy.
I think it was Mary.
Yes, Mary. So I find
the CEO, he wasn't live.
Right. He was a real person. May he rest in peace. He recently passed away. So yeah, Fred Willard. But yeah, Mary is taken aback by all of the things around her, like the stars and the pool and seeing everything. It's almost like they see it for the first time. But yeah, I wonder if there was a lottery that allowed people to get on the Axiom, how they determined who got on it. And I guess they planned for repairs with all the robots that they have when they left Earth. But you do wonder what happened to the rest of Earth if everybody wasn't able to get on the Axiom.
I think they actually made like a bunch of different Axioms.
Ah.
Like I think in like the video something, I don't know where it was, but there was like a video when the captain was asking something of the ships leaving, and there were like multiple different
many ships.
Yeah,
I think that's right. That sounds right to me. Mm-hmm. So it says something about Axiom, the flagship of, is suggesting that there were other ships as well. This is the fanciest one, and maybe this is the only one that we know to. Yikes! We'll see. No, we won't see. It's a movie.
So you said something about the name. So were you referring to Axiom itself?
Yeah. What does the word axiom mean?
I don't know. Etymologist, you tell me.
Yeah. So an axiom is. It's a figure of speech, right? So it's a self-evident truth. Like it's, the sky is blue, or we're breathing air. Those are really bad examples. So we're going out. So I have not dug into all the symbolism of the naming of the ship, but it seems like there's something lurking there to be found. Like, try this, self-evident truth.
All men are created equal?
Well, yes. If your planet is trashy, clean it up, not run away for a vacation while your robot cleans it up. I remember the captain at one point was talking to the plant and said, all you needed was for someone to take care of you. And then he looked down and there was the globe, and he has this aha moment, and he's like, we're going back. All we needed to do was take care of the earth. So there you go, axiom. Take care of the earth and it will take care of you.
Yes. So I thought, again, it was my first time to ever see WALL-E. So at one point, the captain does want to go back to Earth, but there are two robots that try to keep him from doing that. Yes. Because they have been given other instructions that say, do not return to Earth.
Right.
Stay in space forever, basically.
Autopilot.
Right. And so
13. That's its
That's
name.
the order is A113.
No, the person, like the wheel, is actually named A113. It's like it's in the middle of the wheel.
mhm.
There you
So
go.
like
So I find that interesting that we talked about the laws of robots recently because they are going against their commander or
Yes.
the captain because they have been given this other directive, and it is trying to preserve humanity by not returning to space. I mean, but not returning to Earth.
Yes. So, robot. So I think it's the first law of robotics. A robot must obey a human, obey human orders, unless the orders endanger human life. Right. So yeah, good point.
That sounds right.
I like it.
Mhm.
Yeah. So we want to have that discussion about our nominations for the race to becoming BNL by and large. You want to go first? Who in the world we inhabit right now? Who is trying to become the company that gives us everything?
Probably Disney.
Oh, well, there you go. One company to give us all of our entertainment. We're talking about entertainment. I would have to say it's a close call. I think Netflix is trying to be in there.
Yeah. Netflix is Disney's biggest competitor.
Okay.
And Netflix keeps going into more and more debt, yet releasing more and more content. I don't know how they stay afloat. But my nominee, including entertainment and shopping, would be Amazon. They're, in my opinion, they're the new B&L.
Yeah. So I heard someone talk about that, or a little clip about that, that when businesses, so because of the pandemic, a lot of companies are actually going out of business. Retailers are going out of business, and their market share is being snapped up. In fact, Amazon has expanded its market share. So I'm going to have to agree with you that I think when it comes to commerce, I think Amazon has the nod, has the edge right now. They don't quite have the corner on transportation yet. So we're going to have to ask ourselves who is going to corner the market on transportation.
Right. Well, I mean, I could see that happening because they do have drone deliveries in certain cities within a certain amount of time. So
Right. So if you basically take over those fleet of autonomously driving cars, scooters, and drones, pretty close there. And then I think the other category is information, right? That there's, I would have to say, Facebook is very much vying for control of information. Both the social part of social media, but then also news and pseudo news dissemination. So I think there's
if we're talking about information, then Google is
very powerful. Yeah, I agree with that. I agree. So we've got just a small number of companies that are doing their very best to shoot us off into space in a few decades.
I don't think it's a few decades. I think it took probably a few centuries
to get to the point where we could travel in space.
I mean, to the point where it's that polluted. I mean, in WALL-E, it took a few centuries.
And they never really explain. It seems like there were dust storms every day. So that was very interesting to me too. The weather of wherever he was.
Earth.
Right, but what country, what city?
Sorry.
It was probably a big city because I don't think that he actually made those big tall towers. I think that there was a tower underneath it and then he just stacked it around it.
Good point. Speaking of which, Mrs. Bailey, I don't think we have natural disaster movies on our list for later. I wonder if we should consider that as we move forward into the second 3 months of our running show. Well, we're coming up on 20 minutes. Everyone have some last thoughts here on this show?
Well,
Catherine?
I just had a fun fact. By and large, started as a battery making company. Like its logo is on Buzz Lightyear's batteries.
Ah, interesting. I
just
know. I didn't look hard enough for a Pizza Planet reference, but I'll have to go back and look.
I think the trucks that are being built.
And I think that it's the company that tried to take Carl's house.
Ah.
So, yeah. So it's been there before Wally, but then it just kind of exploded out of control.
Sounds familiar. Except not the battery pump. Oh, wait. Okay. So I will just say I'm going to keep it light this time. This is a really cool story of how to look for the stories and the examples of transcending your design, your purpose. Wally was supposed to be just one of a whole army of machines. And when he was the very last machine on the planet, he kept doing his job. The question is, how old is Wally? Because if the ship has been gone 700 years, yes, they kept building the machines after the ship left. But anyway, how old is Wally? That's a question for me. But
and how many backup parts did he have?
Right. So he keeps working.
Yeah, they were only supposed to be gone 5 years.
5 years, right?
So how is that? So if Wally was made in the beginning, then how does he still have like a whole little bin of parts?
Right. Fantastic. So exceed your design and look for the good, even when she tries to shoot you at first. Do you have any last thoughts?
I loved it. It was fabulous.
Love it. So this Friday is episode 20. And we are going to be exploring a single episode of Black Mirror, Nosedive, which is from season 3. So we hope you'll come back and join us then. And then next week, let's see. Is there a theme to next week? It's kind of along the lines of seeing the future. That's what the theme of next week is.
Okay.
So we'll announce this. It's one book and one movie. But first, on Friday, episode of Black Mirror. We hope you enjoyed our special guest, Catherine.
Yes, Catherine. Thank you so much for clearing your busy schedule to appear on our show.
Absolutely. And is there any way fans of the show can get your autograph or anything like that?
Sure.
All right. Just contact our producers if you want one of Catherine's autographs, and we'll send that right to you. Thanks for joining us tonight, everybody, and we'll see you back here on Friday evening.
Wally.
Bye.
Bye.